All right, guys. Excited to go over the player action plans. I know we went through the 720 athlete approach, which is going to really steer us in terms of all the elements of performance integration. I know we're still waiting to set a performance integration meeting so that we can iron out any details. But I think going through this on your own and seeing what these different elements are in terms of tracking are important. Pretty much, I'm going to be going through everything with you, Daniel. There's going to be a lot of entries that you're going to need to make as a log so that we can follow. Um, so essentially, let me go through everything. I'm going to share my screen so you can see this shared sheet. All right. And this isn't completely set in stone. We're going to have other entries and updates and all sorts of things. But the categories that I have are along the bottom. Okay. And each individual stakeholder is going to have a piece of it because we talked about the performance factors, these 720 performance factors that we've ironed out. We've put a lot of them in here. And we know who's manning all the different areas, like, ensuring that we're minimizing pain and dysfunction, all of these things. So, musculoskeletal, we have some stuff already input, and don't worry about this. So, Shannon and I are going to handle this, putting in details, looking from test to test, what could potentially change. We're looking at right to left differences. Um, Bilateral in asymmetries. So there's a lot of math in here, but we're looking at this and saying, okay, what needs to be scaled potentially in the programming, and it's going to really help. Now, when this has been reviewed, I'm basically clicking this, whatever's been entered. I would like everybody, because when there's an entry made, to go to their notification section, and then when you edit notifications, I just said if any changes are made, I'd like them to go to my email. I want to stay up on this, and I don't want people to miss either. There could be some things that across departments, there may coordinate, but for me anyway, I don't want to miss any entries so I can see this, and it will help, going down the journey here of keeping things consistent and things that we can, communicate about. So the bottom half, there's this lower body peak power, okay, and this is where I see the force plate analysis coming in. Force, this could be something that you can man. I don't want to get a whole, a bunch of data to have to swim through. All I want is to have a hands-on hip test, two force plates under each feet, and I want to look at what the force contributions are for the right and left leg when it's bilateral, two legs. And then when it's a single leg jump, I basically want to load one leg with hands on hips, jump as high as Daniel possibly can off that plate and land in 2 feet. I don't want to have to worry about coordinating a controlled landing on a single leg. It's not about, ACL evaluation. It's about, what kind of pop does he have right and left. And I'm going to look and see, are we, two things, are we ensuring that we have more unilateral properties than bilateral, and how are we doing with balancing the legs? Okay, so that's going to be a really big thing. We're going to check that out. And then I have some other things too that we're looking on this from a musculoskeletal lens. So on this page, Daniel, you don't have a ton to do. Now on the fueling side of things, I want to make sure that we are hammering everything out as far as what could be the supplements. So I'd like a list here. Each month things change. What the dosages are, I want to be really routine here. If Julia discontinued anything, I want to know, just so we can find it. If there's refills on any supplements, I want to make sure that those are needed. Like if you're making entry there, I don't want to miss. Hopefully you're able to ensure that you're staying up on reordering on your own. And again, we have all the supplements you possibly, could need, I think, from an MLB standpoint and a college standpoint that are approved with discounts. If there's any kind of notes that could happen from Julia, it could be entered here. There could be other different like forms of fueling that come in that we should have in here, but I want to stay up on this as best as we can. Okay. That will be important. Okay. So now I'm going to some other things, a bullpen log. Okay. This is important because as we get into this, I want to make sure that we don't miss anything as far as your performance in your pen. You know, we are managing fatigue, the arm's starting to come around, we're starting to build a lot of strength. We want to make sure that the application to performance is in a good spot. Okay. So, you know, the way you would do this is we have I want to have all the details from everybody as far as making sure we have the contacts and everything we need. There could be some overall comments, okay, for the month. So when we get this happening, I want to make sure that we, you know, have an overview, an overall performance assessment. This part would be for the coaches, okay? Make sure that I've reviewed everything that's input. And then also, you know, Mark, you know, he's issuing the program, so we need to make sure that it's been accounted for, and I can see it. Okay, I don't want to miss anything. In here, you're putting in the date, how many pitch totals you had. I do want to make sure that, you know, we have a grade that you give yourself out of the performance. There's a strike throwing percentage element. I like to indicate what is the pitch type that possibly is being worked on, or the mechanical adjustment. If there's video, throw on a link. We have this already set where the full link isn't going to take over. It's just a dash. So when you have a video of you pitching, putting it in there. If there's images that we need to see, you know, getting those put in there as a link. This is the 9 square basically. So when you have, you know, you know, how many strikes you've thrown. So this is going to tell me, like, if we put in 3 here, we put in 5 here, you know, we put in, you threw 6 strikes here, let's just say, you know, we have 14, let's say your pitch total is 25, it should calculate, right? So we get a strike percentage. You have to be focused a lot on accuracy. We need to make sure we make good pitches. I do like for you when you get to your pens to eventually, you know, we need to scale your intensity at the beginning. So having a pocket radar, or a place that may have a Rapsoda or something that we can have some high quality information put in. I just want, again, I don't want to have, we're not going to go through reams and reams of data. I'm going to tell you which ones I want to see: your peak velocity in the session. I want to see your max spin rate. Also want to see your induced vertical break, your best, and your best horizontal break. So I want to know where we're touching on those. Okay. If it's a max velocity and we're giving you, hey, you got to stay under 85 miles an hour, we don't want to get over that. We're controlling that. You know, secondary pitch, okay, and a third pitch. I want to make sure that at least you got 3 pitches that are clicking and working. Put in your comments, you know, how it felt, how you functioned, you know, how the form was, you know, things that you might be able to interact with us, and have a documented approach of that, because that way allows us to steer things pretty easily. You know, all of these things have to be able to coordinate. That's the integration approach. That's the 720 athlete approach, is having everything, you know, integrated, and for us to have an easy way to communicate, especially with people who are busy. So there's a lot of entries available in here, and we can copy and paste, put on more. You know, if we're doing more than 2 bullpens, I don't think we would be in a week, but we can cross that when it comes. So now there's a cumulative tracker, all right, that we're going to keep building. You know, and this is one I'm going to adjust the dates, you know, when we get started. But I'll go through this one. So what will happen is we need to make sure that we set the drill. Okay, we're setting in the drills that you're doing that day. There's some scaling of the intensity of the session. Okay. And, you know, essentially, what you would be putting in is a numerical grade for these. Okay. So sets, throws, your distance in feet. So we know kind of where you're doing that, your intensity. It's going to calculate a load when you put that in, even with a ball weight. So if we put in, like, you know, we used a 6 ounce ball, we did 3 sets, right? We did 12 throws. The distance was, you know, 60 feet, or it might even be shorter, because depending on what you're doing, you know, and then we have an intensity of, let's say 9. Okay. It's giving us a load for that day. So I want to be able to track the loading that we have in your training, because if we can be more precise without having a huge amount of technology, but tapping that stuff in, that keeps you aware of what you've been doing in your session. But it's also us saying like, okay, we're continually increasing your workload. We want to make sure that you have a lot of capacity. So that piece is pretty set. Now at the top, I left this in because this is what we need to meet about. These are some things I know we met earlier at some point about getting in some concepts of goal planning. Okay. And then what I want to do is iron this out some more. So I have some basic ones in here. So like it's just we're gonna modify this and make it work, but I still want to know, are we going pro ball? Are we going college? Are we doing a blend? How are we going to be able to do this? Because if our eyeballs are going like this all the time, we're not going to be laser focused. So in here, we're going to look at the hors d'oeuvres. I look at it like a meal. These are habits that we need to break and improve. The appetizer, these are going to be some new benchmarks that are quantified, that are process measures that will allow you to get to where your main meal will be. Now, we got to get clear on this, like, and be realistic about what is the main meal. What are we going to be focused on in this process, right? And then I always have, and that's the tangible goal that we want to achieve. And then I always have a dessert, which is the icing on the cake that tells us, we hit our main meal, what's coming on, all right, for that extra. I want to be able to think of like, we got to shoot for something even higher because it can happen. All right. So we want that. And so, you're going to have, different workload tracking here. So I'm going to have all of these things dialed in. We'll probably, to make a clean start, maybe we start in November. We want to be before you're getting on a mound, but we can talk about that when we're here. Okay. But I want everybody to be prepared for, when we get to higher order throwing, we're going to be on the mound more. Like we definitely need a process for this. So there's a few different workload tracking tabs, and those things go into the cumulative tracker. Okay, so we can follow that. It goes into the cumulative tracker that we can see all this stuff. Okay, so it's going to layer in everything we have. So now the biggest key too is we're going to start to set a schedule. All right. And ideally, we should probably put this first and then we have the musculoskeletal evaluation after. But this is where I want to make sure that we're getting in. We meet when you're here about all the goals, all the things that we can iron out. I want to make everybody aware of them, so everybody's focused on these things, that we crush it. And this is a schedule that we have basically put together. It's more for us in the background. You don't have to worry about this one at all. This is just something to layer in. What's the current sequence of everything that we're doing? All the way across from your recovery habits, how you're making communications. Sometimes we have athletes, like if you're going to college, we have athletes that have to use an outside program. So we have to come up and understand what those are from your lens. And then we have to give you a suggested action and adjustment. Okay. So this is something that, your man going to, X, Y, and Z school, they're issuing a program, you're tapping out what they're doing. So we know the days, what the combinations are of the A1, A2, or this is these two you do together. And then we create this adjusted action. What the exercise adjustment is, we give you the reason. So you have something to communicate with who the outside coach is. You indicate whether the success was, if it was successful, so we can follow. And then the notes, okay, the notes that may be happening from the outside coach. Okay, so that we have a better idea of how to navigate your issues. All right, we do this a lot. So, what we want to do is, meet about this, you and I, Daniel, when we get here. And then I want to be able to iron all of this out for everybody. And I would like, each person to come to me and communicate if they don't understand anything and putting this information in. Um, and when it comes to Michael, that's a little different. I didn't have that on there because there's a lot of sensitive things that could be communicated. But whatever you freely can tell him can be shared. and he can keep me informed on how you're feeling. If there's any levels of anxiety or concern with anything. I want to make sure that we have communication all around. We don't miss anything. So, we'll keep working this process. It will get better, and we'll set a time to meet. Okay, I know, people's schedules are a little bit, can be hectic and chaotic, but as we get cooking on this, we can make sure that everybody's informed. So it's been awesome. We are doing so well so far. We're going to keep it up, and I think this is going to organize us a lot more. And Daniel, you're going to keep leading us, making sure that we're in the know of everything that's going on. I know we're having a lot of communication on our text pod when you're doing testing or there's different training exercises you want to get confirmation on. But this is going to really provide us an integrated approach to performance integration, and it will indicate when we do need meetings, when things start to change. Okay, very much like how we do things, Major League Baseball and also with pro clients. So you're there. There's a lot of outside influences and things that I can't see. But now I think everybody's connected and joined at the hip. So excited to get after it, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I know it's a lot of detail to give you on a Sunday, but reach out if you have any issues. Thanks.